If you do this every single night, it will completely transform your life very, very soon. And if you're wondering, no, it's not SATS. Hello, my beautiful superheroes. Welcome back to my channel, the place where we make the impossible possible. If you're new here, hi. I'm Scarlett Grace, I'm a manifestation coach, and I help people break through their limitations and manifest their heart's desires. In this video, I'm going to share with you a nighttime technique that if you start using it now, it can completely transform your life very easily and very fast. But before we jump into this, if you want to learn how to manifest any desire fast with the law of assumption and Neville Goddard's teachings, then start now by hitting the subscribe button and the bell icon so that you won't miss any video that could change your life. I also have several self-study courses to help you manifest, including a 21-day course on how to manifest your specific person. You can check all of those out using the links in the description below. So let's talk about the technique that can completely transform your life in a short amount of time. This method actually comes straight from Neville Goddard. It is something that Neville really recommended people do every single night, but for some reason it's not very popular. For some reason, even though people use this technique for other aspects of their life, they usually don't use it in the way Neville recommended. And that's a pity, because this is a very easy way to transform your life and not just manifest one desire, but transform every aspect of your life without much effort. It only takes a few minutes to do every night, and no, it's not SATS, so you don't actually need to be able to visualize very clearly. You don't need to be in a state akin to sleep to use it. You can use it before you actually go to bed and just spend a few minutes on it every single night, and it will transform every single aspect of your life. I'm going to explain what the method is and how to actually implement it, how to use it in your life to get results. And I'm also going to explain why it is so effective, why just a few minutes a day can have such a big impact in every area of your life. Not just your big desires, but every single area of your life can become better through this method. This method that comes straight out of Neville Goddard is called daily revision. Now, you may be familiar with revision generally, and if you're not, I have a video explaining exactly how to do revision step by step to change big things in your life, dismantle patterns and things like that. I'm going to link that video up to the right and also in the description below so that you can check it out. It's very useful because it has all my secret tips and tricks that I use to get revision to be super effective for me. But daily revision is a bit different. Generally speaking, revision is a method where you take something that happened in the past, in your past, something negative, something that still haunts you, something that is still creating problems in your life, and you change it so that the negative impact in your life is removed. So say, for example, that you did something very humiliating, and now it haunts you and you cannot operate in public because you're so afraid that you're going to humiliate yourself again. You can go back to that negative memory where this problem started for you and imagine that things went completely differently, that you didn't do the thing that you feel so ashamed about, so you never have to feel awkward in public. Or maybe you had an argument with somebody 2 years ago and you haven't spoken with this person since, and it still haunts you because you still want to be friends with this person. You still want to have a good relationship with this person. And maybe it's something you did, so maybe you were very angry and you said things that you regretted, or maybe the other person did the negative thing and it was out of your control. It felt out of your control. You can still go back and imagine that that conversation turned out differently, and you never stop talking with this person and you're still friends. And that can change what manifests in your present. That can undo the damage of things from your past. This is generally how revision works. And I know that many of you have been using revision to dismantle negative patterns, for example, in relationships, to change how breakups happened, to revise arguments so they didn't happen with your specific person, and things like that. But there is a specific way to use revision that if you do it every single night, it changes your life overall, day by day, and it doesn't have to be targeted on all the deep and painful things from the distant past. No, you just focus it on what happened today. And this is called daily revision, and this is something that Neville Goddard very highly recommended that every one of his students do every single night. Here's how it works. Before you go to bed at night, I want you to close your eyes, or you can keep your eyes open if that helps you more. And I want you to mentally go through your day from the moment you woke up in the morning up until this present moment where you're standing or sitting and going through your day. So you woke up. What happened then? And I want you to sit and examine all the moments where something went wrong. So maybe, for example, you spilled coffee on your favorite blouse, so you had to change and that made you late to work. This is something that you can revise. It may not be a big event, something that is very impactful, but if it's something negative, if it is something that made you sad, if it is something that had negative consequences in your day, you can just go back and revise it. So what you do is you imagine, okay, I woke up, I got out of bed, I went to the shower, then I went to the kitchen, I made coffee, I had already put my clothes on, and that's how I spilled coffee on my favorite blouse. You stop there. This is the event that you're going to revise. And you revise it very briefly because it's not the most impactful event in the world. It's just something that was a bummer when it happened. So you imagine, for example, that you managed to not spill your coffee. Or maybe you imagine that you were still in your pajamas, so it didn't actually make you late that you spilled coffee on yourself because you didn't have to change clothes. And you imagine this new scene. It doesn't have to be super vivid. You don't have to be an expert at visualizing very clearly. You just imagine that, hey, I didn't drop coffee. And you play the scene in your mind where maybe you almost dropped the coffee but didn't and it never spilled on you. And you play it a few times until it feels convincing that this is what happened today. And then you move on with your day in your mind. So what happened next? You got dressed. You drove to work. Did anything negative happen on the way to work? Was there an accident? Did you get into an argument with somebody? Did somebody do something to you? Were you late because there was a lot of traffic and you regretted not starting earlier? If nothing negative happened, you just move on in your mind to what happened next in your day. If something happened that made you angry, that made you upset, you can sit there for a few moments and revise it. So maybe all the lights were green and you weren't late to work. Maybe you never got into that argument with the other driver. So then you got to work. What happened at work? Did something happen that made you feel, for example, that you're worthless or you're not treated as a person who has value? Maybe somebody was promised a raise and it wasn't you and it made you feel bad or angry. You can revise it. So maybe what happened today is that your boss was very appreciative of you. Maybe what happened today, in your new scenario, in your revised scenario, maybe what happened today is that they promised you a raise. You play the new scenario in your mind a few times until you're convinced that, yeah, this is what happened. My boss actually complimented me for once. My boss actually bothered to say, good job. He never does it, but today he did it, and you play it a few times in your mind, you feel the emotions of what it would feel like if your boss had congratulated you, or if your associates were appreciative of you, if your co-workers actually said something to show that you're an invaluable member of the team. Then you move on. What happened next? What happened during your lunch break? You just move through your day from start to finish. You locate those points that made you feel bad. All those events that made you feel that things are not the way you want them to be, that made you sad, that made you angry. Any events that happened that you consider bad luck or a negative development. And every time you reach one of those events, you just pause and you ask yourself, how could this have happened to make me happy instead? And you just play the new scenario in your mind a few times, you feel the emotions, you move on. You find the next thing, the next part of your day where something happened that you're not happy about, you revise it, you move on, and it doesn't have to be important. It can all be stuff like, I spilled coffee on my favorite blouse in the morning, I was supposed to go to the movies with a friend and they cancelled on me, there was a lot of traffic and I arrived at work late and angry because I didn't start earlier from my home. It can be events like that. It doesn't have to be something huge. Or maybe something really bad happened during the day. Maybe you sprained your ankle. That's something that impacts your life more than spilling coffee on your blouse. You can revise that. You can sit there and say, hey, I stumbled, but I never fell and I never sprained my ankle. What does that look like? You imagine it vividly. You feel that this is what happened. You feel the feelings of, oof, I didn't fall down. I'm lucky that I didn't sprain my ankle. You play that a few times and then you move on to the rest of your day in your mind. You do that until you reach the present moment, the moment where you're about to go to bed and you're doing this exercise. And depending on the type of day you had, this may only take 2 or 3 minutes. It doesn't have to be something that takes very long, unless you had a super crappy day where you have 50 different events that happened that were really negative, that really affected your mood badly. It doesn't necessarily have to take that long. And most days may be pretty fine. Maybe you only have 1 or 2 minor things to change for the whole day. That's okay. You just spend a couple of minutes on this exercise and then you're done. Now, how this helps is this. We all have some set patterns in our lives that we may not even notice. So maybe you're the type of person who happens to be late to work very regularly. And this may be influencing how people see you. Or maybe it influences how you see yourself. And you just get angry and irritated during the day because you start your day with something negative, being late and trying to be there on time. If you start revising that changes what happens in your life. That changes what manifests in your life. Because if this morning you were late and you revise it, and tomorrow you're late and you revise it, and the next day you're late and you revise it, because you're revising it and making yourself start on time every single time, without realizing it, without any effort, without you having to believe in it or actually do any work, you suddenly become the person who is always on time. Because you keep revising it and making it so you are always on time, so that naturally manifests you becoming a person who is on time. So you solve a problem that may have more consequences in your life than you may imagine, without actually putting any effort in it. It's just a few seconds of you imagining that, hey, I wasn't late today. I actually started early, I was on time. So that changes your overall conditions in your life, for small things and even for big things, because imagine, maybe you revised an argument. There is a person in your life that you argue with a lot. But you reach that point in your day and you say, no, I didn't argue with this person. For once, what we did was we had a great conversation. We aired all our thoughts and feelings and we resolved them. And that's what happened. And you play that version of reality in your mind a few times. You move on with your day. If you argue again with that person and you keep revising it every day, every time it happens, eventually it will stop happening, and eventually maybe a couple of days later. It's not months or years later. And the reason it changes is because you decide that this is not what happened, and you use your imagination to imagine what to you is what really happened. We never argued. We had a very polite and great conversation and we resolved our differences. This manifests a change in your reality. And because it's in the middle of an exercise, so you're not super focused on changing things with this person, you're just changing what happened today, you don't have a lot of resistance around this. You're just fixing what to you went wrong today so that it won't affect you the next days. Because Neville Goddard says the past doesn't remain in the past. The events that happen in the past do not stay there. They move into the future and create your future. That is why nighttime revision is so effective, because it changes just what happened today. It isn't focused on the huge stuff, it is focused on what happened today. But if you consistently change all the things that went wrong every single day, all the manifestations of patterns that annoy you every single day, that changes who you are as a person, and it changes all those aspects of your life in just a few minutes a day. And of course, you can have more impactful events during the day. So if you sprain your ankle, that's an impactful event. And if you revise it, it's unlikely that you will wake up tomorrow and your ankle will not be sprained. But what this does is if you revise it, it usually heals faster. So this has been my experience with injuries or with illnesses. If you revise it as if it never happened, somehow, in many cases, it goes away faster. You heal faster, or you don't have as many complications. And that's the same with arguments. You won't wake up tomorrow and your friend will not remember that you had an argument yesterday, but it's way more likely that your friend may have decided to let it go. Or to say, hey, the actual reason I was so mad at you is because you said this thing and this thing really hurt. And you resolve the matter and you don't have to keep arguing over the same thing without being able to understand each other. And it gets resolved. Or if you have a pattern that really bothers you and you cannot seem to break it, whether it's something that you do or something that you have done at you. So let me give you 2 examples. Let's say that you have a pattern of being ghosted. You meet somebody, you go on a date or 2, and then the person ghosts you. And this is your pattern. and it bothers the heck out of you. You don't understand why you keep getting ghosted. Well, imagine that you got ghosted today. When you do your nighttime revision, you reach that point in the day where you realize you got ghosted and you decide that no, this is not what happened. The person actually messaged me. And you revise the scene and you play it a few times and you feel the emotions of, hey, I'm not ghosted. This person messaged me. Then the next time somebody ghosts you, in your nighttime revision, again, you change it. And if you keep doing that, you don't have a pattern of being ghosted anymore because you changed all those instances where you got ghosted. So you naturally become a person who isn't being ghosted. It may take a few days, or it may take a few weeks, or it may take a month, but you reach a point where you're not a person who gets ghosted because all those previous times this month that you got ghosted, you changed them. So how can you be a person that gets ghosted? How can you have a pattern when it never happened? So it stops happening in your present because you changed it in the past. You erased all those times that it happened in the past. It only takes a few minutes every night to do. You will go to bed in a much better mood than you would normally go to bed if you hadn't revised your day. And this is a practice that will change your whole life if you consistently do it. Do it for a month and see how it changes everything. And if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon because I put out new videos every Sunday to help you manifest an amazing life.